You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
You know, I wish we could find some way to hold people accountable. Free speech is a great idea, but we're in a war.
To make sure the economy doesn't collapse, I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
You're listening to Common Sense Radio with A.J. Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network.
Happy Monday. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network. Susan, how was your weekend?
Well, I am, as always, blessed and highly favored. I've had a fabulous weekend resting up. It's been great. How are you, AJ?
I am fantastical. I'm sure you're exhausted after you were out on the streets marching for our lives. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Marching for our lives. It's so funny because these poor little, anti-gun, Democrat socialists, they really want to be able to use the term march for life, right? That's what they want, except that that's taken. And that means the exact opposite for them because they don't believe in life for everyone. Life is something that's very selective, and, we ought to be able to abort, Down syndrome babies, and we want to be able to abort any baby that, is just inconvenient. So they can't use those terms because then they start sounding like the pro-life crowd who believes that life is sacred, right?
Yes, absolutely. And, the soundbite that has really got me that's circulating around is our friend David Hogg, who wants his privacy rights, yes, but no Second Amendment.
Oh, I know. We're going to have to play that because that we have to talk about David Hogg. He's the kid from Parkland school shooting who's now trying to make a media career, and he wants to get a gig on CNN like a regular thing, right? Because and he has this. This was hysterical. To me, it's about the backpacks, right?
Correct. Yes, the clear backpacks. Here, let me go ahead and play that for everybody.
Now it's disgusting.
One more about school. You mentioned your backpack. What do they do with your backpacks?
I think after we come back from spring break, they're requiring all of us to have clear backpacks. I think one of the other important things to realize is many students want their privacy. There are many, for example, females at our school when they go through their menstrual cycle, they don't want people to see their tampons and stuff. And it's just. It's unnecessary, it's embarrassing for a lot of the students, and it makes them feel isolated and separated from the rest of American school culture, where they're having essentially their First Amendment rights infringed upon because they can't freely wear whatever backpack they want, regardless of what it is. It has to be a clear backpack. What we should have is just more policies that make sure that these students are feeling safe and secure in their schools.
Wow. They want students to feel more safe and secure in their school. And the clear backpacks are violating their First Amendment, is what he says. Oh.
Okay. I can't even tell you how wrong all of this is. First of all, this is what happens when you have the Tide Pod generation in charge of gun safety. I got to tell you, because these guys have been eating too many Tide Pods. It's not the First Amendment. I'm sorry, I'm getting too shrill. Let me take that down a little bit. It's not the First Amendment that guarantees your right to have privacy in a backpack. First of all, there is no constitutional right to privacy, meaning there's words right to privacy do not exist in the Constitution. That concept was introduced in a law review article that a future justice wrote about, Brandeis and Warren. They wrote a law review article in Harvard before they were justices, and they suggested that a right to privacy might exist, and that that it comes under it's called the penumbra, but it comes under the notion that we have a right to be left alone. But the words right to privacy do not exist in the Constitution. The way that they got there, the way that the Supreme Court got there, especially with respect to Roe versus Wade, abortion, things like that, was because they decided that a woman has rights over her own body, et cetera, and they accepted the notion from the Fourth Amendment, the notion that you can be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, and you're protected in your property. Right? And so those are different places where they got the notion of right to privacy. But for this guy, our little cruncher here, he thinks that it's a First Amendment right that you should be able to wear a backpack. The First Amendment does not protect your right to wear a backpack. First Amendment is there to protect the free exercise of religion, primarily, and very secondarily is the right of free speech, most particularly political speech, not backpacks, and not whether or not you can see into your backpack. So he's even wrong on the which amendment he should be going under. I get what he's saying, that, clear backpacks are going to be, that's going to expose people's, private things in their backpack. Well, gee, he's all about school safety, isn't he? I mean, if we have clear backpacks, then we can see if anybody's packing guns, right? Or condoms or anything else. But for goodness sake, he's not okay with all of a sudden we now have a government, a blanket statement by a government, namely the schools, right? They've now pronounced that all students must comply with the new law, which is thou shalt not bring opaque backpacks to school. What's the difference between that and the government saying you can't have a gun? It's the same type of notion. He's having the problem with the government pronouncing what he can and cannot do, and yet here he is on the other side saying, well, we need a government to come in and take away gun rights. Well, his backpack rights have just been taken away by the same government, and he's got a problem with it. I mean, he needs to go back and, maybe put some ketchup on some more of those Tide Pods. Maybe that'll fix it, because he really does not know what he's talking about. And these poor little Gen Zs who are going, march for our lives. They are advocating for a huge centralized communist-style government that tells you can only wear this type of backpack. You all have to wear your badges. You must show us your papers. Where are your papers? And you're not wearing the type of backpack that is programmed for you, that is not approved. I mean, that's what Hitler did. These little Tide Pod crunchers they're trying to advocate for a powerful centralized force to take away their individual rights. And I think it's just hysterical that he's saying, well, it's our First Amendment right to wear our clear backpacks. But the guy doesn't even know the Constitution at all. And I in a way, I agree with him. You should be able to wear whatever backpack you want, except for the fact that now you're on public school property, and we now have a safety issue, and we're trying to keep your students safe, right? And if you're not going to arm teachers, well, gee, I think we shouldn't have backpacks. How about that? I think you should have a backpack. You should have to schlep your bag and your books the old-fashioned way on your hip and just carry them from class to class. Put a little strap around it or something. How about that? Where's the constitutional guarantee of rights that guarantees you the right to a backpack? I mean, the TSA think about that. When you go through an airline, they X-ray your body. They take away all your bags and they scan through everything. They can toss through anything you want. Why? Because it's a privilege to fly. And yet we're not giving private security to the airlines. We have a government entity, the TSA, that is now trying to secure all of the airlines. Why not turn that over to the individual airlines, like what Israel does? Why not that? Why are we having a government in charge of all of this? This is just growing government. And yeah, it means you can't take things in your luggage. It means you can't have backpacks. And when you start empowering the government to do that, you have fewer freedoms. This is exactly the point that conservatives are bringing home, which we should have individual rights, not so much government control of everything. And I just think it's hysterical that little Hogg there is having a problem with clear backpacks because he's the guy that's rabble-rousing the entire school safety. We need to be safe at schools. Hey, I agree. Couldn't agree more. I think we have to start arming some teachers. I know
Absolutely.
how we start safe, but let's get to schools. It's called shoot back. That's what we do.
It's amazing that this whole march was to promote the safety of lives. Yet, where were all these kids, these people that were protesting at the March for Life? I mean, where all these people are talking, why aren't they standing outside Planned Parenthood who happened to tweet out right before in support of the March for Lives? Never again. I fight to end #end gun violence because 50 women are shot to death by intimate partners in an average month. Well, I got something for you, Planned Parenthood. #60 million babies aborted by you.
Yeah, I'd like to please just real quick tell you how many people the NRA has shot, which is 0, versus how many people Planned Parenthood has killed through abortion, which is 60 million. We're coming up on 60 million. So NRA versus Planned Parenthood, that smackdown that Planned Parenthood wins every time. They've killed 60 million people. This is in the legalization of abortion with Roe v. Wade. It's sick. And yet there they are saying to end gun violence because of 50 women shot. We don't want women shot at all. We don't want anyone shot, especially when it can be prevented. How about we start arming women? I think women should have a gun holster anytime they're near an intimate partner. That'll stop the shootings. But no, we're gonna blame the gun, and that's the whole point. Is David Hogg, these liberals, these Democrats, what they do is they blame the gun because they want to take away all guns. That is never ever going to happen. You are never going to get school safety by permanently eradicating all guns. It's not a reasonable thing that can ever happen. But that's what they're.
It isn't, and I think the thing that a lot of us want, I mean, both left, right, center, we want something done, and there has to be something done. I mean, some of the school, I think it was a school in California, is taking a very active situation by arming classrooms with buckets of rocks. I mean, who isn't afraid to, I'm driving by the local elementary or high school. Oh, I'm not going in there. They got a bucket full of river rock. Woo-wee.
Because you know what? Because rocks can kill. Just ask Cain and Abel, right? I mean, okay, so now we're going to arm kids with rocks to kill bad guys? How's that going to work out? This is ludicrous. This is absolutely ludicrous.
Well, and Susan, it's incredible that
a bullet is a tiny little rock with it that is fired by a projectile. Okay, it's a tiny little rock. Let's give teachers tiny little rocks inside of little shooting things called guns, okay? Those are rocks too. But no, we can't use guns because that's wrong and it's against our rights as students and all. This is so crazy and so backwards. He is so wrong about so much of this. But again, this is all about him getting his 15 minutes of fame and also about the radicals on the left taking away guns from everybody. They want to attack the Second Amendment, and once you can get rid of the Second Amendment, then you can get rid of the First Amendment, and that means shutting down political free speech like Common Sense Radio and other places. Okay?
They'll have to pry it from our cold, dead hands before they get rid of us. But that's the insanity about this march is you have people like David Hogg who were not even at the school whenever the shooting took place, jumped on his bike, and he stated it in interviews, rode as fast as he could for 3 miles to see if he could get some interviews, to get as much footage as possible. And then they invite this performer, Vic Mensa, to sing at the march in D.C., and I'm going to be the one to break this to you, Susan. I want you to just take a deep breath, but he was at an event advocating for gun control. But did you know that the rapper was arrested last year for keeping a loaded firearm in his car without a permit?
No, say it ain't so. Hypocrisy all over the place. You mean like a celebrity has guns and bodyguards and armed people protecting them, but they're against guns? No, you've got to be kidding me.
I know, say it ain't so, but that's from theblaze.com, which is a very reliable site, and I mean March for Our Lives.
So this performer who is all about, he's a rapper and he's all about getting rid of guns, right? He wants to get rid of all guns, but he himself had a loaded firearm in his car without a permit. So he's not obeying the law. The law is just for the other people, not for him. He's above the law. He gets to have a loaded firearm in his car, and yet he can go up and preach in Washington, D.C. about the evils of gun ownership, right? Do I have this right?
Hold on. I'm making a list.
You checking it twice?
Checking it twice. So, rapper at gun control march, check. Arrested last year on loaded firearm in a car without a permit. I'm sure it was Chicago or New York because those are the safest cities with the most impressive gun control laws. So, yeah, I think you got it spot on, Susan. I think you have it spot on.
All right, I got that. So it's liberal hypocrite who says, I can have guns, but you can't. That's what they're trying to say. They want to say, some people can have guns and other people can't. These are the same people who accuse police officers of abuse. These are the same people who would take away our guns and then say that the police officers are the problem, right? Mm-hmm. It makes no sense at all. None of this makes sense because then all we're going to have are government officials armed with weapons while the population has nothing to defend themselves against. These are the same people who they go up against, no justice, no peace. Hands up, don't shoot. They accuse the police officers over and over again of abuse of rights, all kinds of things like that. And they're demanding that we disarm and that we take guns away from all people except the police, right? And that David Hogg is just so silly. He keeps avoiding. He said, well, like the sheriff, Israel, the head of
the coward of Broward County.
Broward County. 45 times his guys didn't go in there. They didn't do their job. They hunkered down behind cars, didn't want to shoot, while their children were being slaughtered inside. They didn't want to go in with the gun because and they were just following orders or whatever the thing is. But those people, they didn't make a mistake. It's their fault. Of course, that was their duty. They were close to the scene. They are deputized. They are authorized by communities to wear guns and to go into dangerous situations to protect and save lives. And they didn't do their job. But nobody's saying anything about that on the left. It's still about the guns. It's not about the police officers there. They'll chew up police officers who have to wrestle with a thug in the backseat of a car who's trying to kill them. That's hands up, don't shoot. They'll police officer. They'll hound these people to death. They'll go after any police officer for abuse of overzealous use of force during arrest. But nobody's talking about these 45 incidents where these several sheriff's officers did not go in. They did not do their job, but that's okay. The problem is the gun of some crazed, wacky mental case, this teenager, 19-year-old Cruz, that guy. So a mental case gets into a school, shoots up the school. All of the sheriff's officers hang out behind the lines like cowards, don't go in to save the kid, but it's the gun's fault. And it's the NRA's fault. And it's the Nash's fault. That makes about as much sense as eating Tide Pods.
Hey, Susan, we are over a month and a half since the Parkland shooting. It's almost, it kind of reminds me of like the statues. hopefully this will kind of move on and people kind of, you know how they were tipping over statues every minute of the day.
Yeah.
I think what we need to focus on as conservatives, as just Americans is, one, we need to keep our children safe. Two, whenever these deranged terrorists, because they're causing terror, go into these schools, they're not choosing or separating the liberal offspring from the conservative offspring. I mean, it's a nonpartisan issue. We need to protect these children, and we need to have common sense solutions. I'm not advocating for anything more than that, but the solution is putting a police officer outside these schools. Period.
Not rocks. Inside the school. I like retired military inside the school. You know, remember, I used to have a driving instructor. Remember, they taught, you know, physical education and stuff. Let's be retired, military vets from Afghanistan and Iraq War, just stationed, like I have 3 or 4 guys inside the school patrolling at all times.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it, with big AR-15 slung around them, and they can laugh anybody that comes in the school. That'll probably cut down on truancy and mouthy students too.
See, we're knocking out 2 things. Anyways, hey, let's go ahead. Let's take a break, and on the flip side, we will dive into the good news in the pro-life community.
Yes, it's been a very good development in Indiana.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
In every rising of the sun, my purpose was to be thankful to be alive. I was even more thankful for the blessings that came with this life, specifically Virdis, my wife. But that came to an end when Aklavane and her minions violently took her away from me. So my new purpose in this life is to gather all the pieces of the Stone's Heart so I can defeat Aklavane and get back my bride. Join me as I travel to new worlds, making new friends and avoiding old enemies. Read more about my story in the first 2 books of the Stone's Heart series, which are now available on Amazon.com in Kindle format. The first book is The Quest for Savitvarda, and that is followed by The Heart of Pagaila. Stone's Heart is more than a fantasy and a sci-fi quest. It's me fighting to get back my precious wife, despite the overwhelming odds against me. Stone's Heart. Join, explore, and believe.
And welcome back to the program, folks. So glad to have you with us here on Monday night, the Monday after the March for Our Lives. Susan, do you want to fill everybody in about an amazing story out of Indiana?
Oh, yes, I do. There is very, very good news. This is pro-life good news. This is the section so you know we're winning. #winning, pro-life. Indiana is now protecting unborn victims of crime. Okay, Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb. This is from the Daily Wire. If you want to go there, that's the source for this, the Daily Wire. Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb signed a law on Sunday that allows for murder charges to be brought against unborn babies who are victims of secondary violence. Okay, so what happens is if a man beats his girlfriend, and she's pregnant, but the baby dies and she lives, you can charge him for the death of the unborn baby. Okay? The official digest of the Indiana law, it was called Senate Bill 203. Here's the digest. Crimes resulting in the loss of a fetus provides that the crimes of 1, murder or voluntary manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter and feticide may be committed against a fetus in any stage of development. That it specifies that the offenses do not apply to lawfully performed abortions. Too bad, we'll work on that. Or pregnant women with respect to a fetus carried by a woman. So a woman can still her own baby, and a lawfully performed abortion is not, we're not ending abortions yet, but this is still very good news because it provides a certain acceptance that a person who commits a felony that causes the death of the fetus, that ends the pregnancy, may receive an additional sentence of 6 to 20 years. So that's really good. This bill, Senate 203, was introduced by a state senator after a woman in his district lost her daughter and unborn grandchild to homicide. Now, the pro-abortion community, they hate this law. They're calling it the camel's nose under the tent because it's targeting abortion. Yeah, it does, and that's a good thing. But the funny thing that they're not going to tell you is that like 29 states, including even the People's Republic of California, have similar laws on the books. And you can see a link put into the article that we'll post after the show so you know where you can find these sites. But the good news is that this is, Indiana is the next state that is actually recognizing that unborn babies have rights, at least in certain circumstances. They're still subject to abortion, and we're still working on that. But the good thing is that some homicidal maniac can be punished for killing a baby before it's born. So that's a good thing.
It's a fantastic thing.
The other thing that I really wanted to get to today, and this is great, this is following up on the Parkland shooting, as you just mentioned before the break. That's been like a month ago, right? They're still making hay. This guy, David Hogg, is still castigating Dana Lash. He's still trying to get his gig on CNN nightly. He's still, up doing that. And they organized, if anybody doesn't know about it, I knew about it because my kids suffer through it. David Hogg and his ilk, they organized a national walkout last month for 17 minutes to protest gun violence. Well, guess what? There is now going to be a nationwide walkout to protest abortion, and I couldn't be happier. I think this is wonderful.
That's fantastic.
This is in California. This is in California. The source is LifeSite News, and LifeSite News is reporting that a teenager, a 16-year-old California student, is planning a pro-life walkout to take place at schools across the country next month in an imitation of the Parkland gun violence protests. I'm thrilled because in my school district, the superintendent allowed parents and other community activists to come into my kids' school. This is elementary school, and use the cafeteria for their purpose to awareness on school safety and discuss better ways that we can come together as a community, all that kind of stuff. They got to pass out flyers as I was dropping off kids and picking up kids, so they had flyers, everything going out, and people had they used school facilities to basically indoctrinate kids. And I'm absolutely thrilled to death that a student has organically, grassroots organization, we're now rolling out a nationwide protest of abortion. Talk about violence against children. If abortion's not violence against children, you can't tell me anything else is. So I think that's wonderful. And
the child that's doing that is Brandon Gillespie. April 11th at 10 a.m. is when he plans on having that. I mean, and he's using the hashtag life.
Oh, I love it. Life. Oh, I just love it. That's great. And this event is designed to test to see if there is a double standard from school administration when it comes to allowing students to protest against destroyers of life. So it'll be brilliant and here's how this student Gillespie got his inspiration. Again, this is from LifeSite News. He was inspired by his history teacher, Julian Benzel. Benzel was abruptly disciplined and not allowed back to school for 2 days. So she was punished for 2 days when she initiated a class discussion about the partisan nature of walkout protests for the stricter gun laws. So here she is, a history teacher, and she's initiating a discussion with her class about, politics and walkout protests, etc. And she's disciplined for doing that. And Gillespie, the student, saw this and said, okay, I think maybe we need to have our counter protest. Mrs. Benzel, the history teacher, had started a discussion in her history class about the Parkland anti-gun protest, and she said, if schools across the country are going to allow one group of students to get up during class and walk out to protest one issue, would they still give the same courtesy to another group of students who wanted to protest, say, abortion, right? And I got punished for saying that. So, and she's absolutely right. You're going to allow students to walk up, get up and class for one particular thing without penalty. You'll recall that there are a lot of students, especially in California, who walked out around May 1st to protest, immigration rights and things. That they do this all the time. That
it was a day without an immigrant. That's what it was.
Yeah, a day without an immigrant. A day without a woman. We got a day without everything. I mean, gosh. So the left constantly does these protests, and they use schools. They're indoctrination camps. Those are propaganda centers in schools. And I think it's absolutely that Gillespie is organizing a nationwide walkout April 11th at 10 a.m. for 17 minutes for pro-life walkout April 11th. I think that is brilliant.
No, I completely agree. It's all about education. It really is. And after our friend David Hogg, we have Gillespie who's organizing this. It's all about educating people. And I have a friend that's a teacher that immediately after these marches and all the news that has just been pouring in through the last couple of days, he is a hunter. He's an expert with firearms, and he's offered any of his friends that are teachers, or it doesn't have to just be teachers, but people that are not educated with firearms, to come out to his property, and he will teach you. He'll put one in your hand, and he will just teach you the basic fundamental use of it. Also,
can we get him in a school? Can he go in school and give training in school to students so they're not afraid of guns? I would love. That's what we need we need to take our schools back. We as parents need to take our schools back away from these liberals who are indoctrinating our children against life and against the Second Amendment and against the Constitution and in favor of this communist kind of Chinese communism that is infiltrating the United States. We need to take back our schools. We should be teaching. We should have gun ranges in our schools and be teaching children how to use firearms safely. That's what we should be teaching. We were doing it in the 50s, and now it's all been ripped out of our schools, and we should have that. That way we'd actually have guns on the property in case some whack job came in. All you'd have to do is go to the range, and you'd be able to grab some weapons and defend yourself against these maniacs. Again, the way that you stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. # shoot back.
Hey, you know what? There's a school that I worked at that had a rifle range in the basement, and they use it as storage, but every school should have a rifle range, and these kids should be taught, just like automotive class and woodworking. They all should be taught that.
That was normal. That was totally normal. And what we're living, increasingly, our schools are abnormal now, and they are teaching abnormal things. They're teaching all kinds of, there's even a teacher I read online that she told some little girl that actually the little girl, she was the boy. So they're even indoctrinating our children and forcing the notion of transgenderism or all kinds of sexual identity politics in grade school. So that they're teaching what is not normal. They're teaching that for an agenda, for a political-based agenda that serves their needs, and that's the fight that we have to. That's where the fight is in our local schools.
Well, not only that, it's branching out to organizations like the Girl Scouts. They're pushing that kind of agenda, and I'm so close to never buying Girl Scout cookies again. That's just my opinion.
Because it's all the Girl Scouts are. They push, the entire upper echelon of the organization is now pro-abortion. And so I long ago said, well, I can't buy those Girl Scout cookies, can't do it because, it's funding an organization I don't agree with. I really think when April 11th comes around, we should do reminding you, everybody, and get involved with this April 11th pro-life walkout from your schools. And what everybody should do is contact the superintendent of your area and make sure that you have the same right as these anti-gun, fascists, that you can go in and take over the cafeteria for 17 minutes and you can speak about the value of life and how precious each and every little child is, and that every child deserves an education. And before you can have an education, you have to be alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a broadcast 2 days before that, and we will definitely be focusing on life that day for sure. And let's. What's that? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
All right. I was talking over you. I apologize.
Let's go ahead and take a break, Susan, and on the other side, we'll talk about the future of and all the good things in life that technology is helping advance. How's that sound to you?
That sounds wonderful. Life is good and future is great.
You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network.
Hi, we're the Bells of Liberty. You can listen to us on Lanterns Radio Network.
New shows air every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
You can find us on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, and iHeartRadio, and on Twitter at Bells of Liberty. See you then.
Hi, it's Blake Johnson, and you can listen to my show, The Blake Johnson Program, every Monday evening at 9/8 Central on lanterns.buzz. Here, I'll delve into the news of the day and anything related to politics, movies, music, faith, and more. Nothing is off limits. This is our meeting ground for conservatives, libertarians, Christians, all liberty lovers. The Blake Johnson Program, every Monday evening at 9/8 Central, only on lanterns.buzz.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Holloway, host of the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network from Phoenix, Arizona. And you can catch our show every week live at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. For those of you who live in Central Time, I don't know what that is because I don't feel like doing math. No, I'm kidding. It's 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday here on the Lanterns Media Network, where we hold the line against the night and lift up our light to shine it into the darkness. Don't miss it. Again, that's the HoloNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network.
Hello, America. Michael Murphy, Voice of Reason here. I hope you'll join me Thursday evenings live at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. See you there.
And you're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network. Susan, where can everybody find you at on the World Wide Web?
Oh, let's see. You can find me at social media at Real Susan Swift. At Real Susan Swift. You can also go to my website, which is susanswift.net. How about you, AJ?
You can find me at Oregon Redskin and on Facebook, Common Sense Radio. That pretty basic, but working on some new handles.
We are. That we're going to tease that. We are working, everybody. We are trying to help AJ with a new handle. So if you have any suggestions, I've already given him one, which is hysterical, and I'm not going to reveal it until he's ready. He's blushing. He's so cute. Anyway, if you have a good handle for AJ, because this Oregon Redskins, blah, 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 blah. Who's going to remember this? I've got a hashtag for him, but he hasn't done it yet. So if you have a good hashtag for AJ Davis, anything you want, go ahead and suggest it, because he's not taking my suggestion. I think it's hysterical. Maybe we can have a voting thing. Which tags the best?
Okay.
AJ.
Well, I'll make a poll up and we can send it out and.
There you go.
And we'll let everybody know the results after next week.
Yeah, right. We'll see how that goes. Oh, and now we're into the section about good news. But I got to tell you that I know this is in the good news section of the future. The future of life, things like that, as we continue with we are pro-life. That's what we are, and we like to bring you good news about things like the Indiana Senate Bill 203 that have just been passed. But here's some bad news, and I know it's in our features section. I think it's bad news. It's the male birth control pill. All right, now because we've already sterilized generations of women with the pill. I laugh at especially California women who everything's got to be organic and hormone free, blah blah blah, but here they are ingesting very powerful chemicals so powerful that it shuts down your ovaries, makes you fat and sterile. And we're doing that by the truckloads. And then, of course, every month, we're excreting it in our urine, putting it into the water, and male fertility worldwide has dropped. The motility of sperm, the little guys, the army men, they're not swimming right. So motility has dropped worldwide. But that we're still not satisfied with that. We're still not happy enough not satisfied with sterilizing generations of women with the pill. Now Big Pharma is taking aim at men. And so this week, this is at futurism.com, This week, another team of researchers, folks, of reproductively responsible men everywhere, claiming they developed a safe and effective once-a-day male birth control pill. Okay, I wonder how that's going to work. First, you got to pop your Viagra, and then you pop whatever this one is. I mean, it's like it's a double duo. I think this is crazy. Anyway.
Well, not only is it crazy, Susan, later on in the article, it tells you that it makes a man gain weight. And I mean, as I'm fat, bald, and beautiful, I mean, I can't afford to be gaining in any more weight.
Well, you know what? I tell you, I mean, if that's gonna, how is he gonna get the girl if he's not attractive? I mean, that's not going to work. And if you get too fat, things don't work. Things don't work. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm blushing. The men who do the highest dose. Stop it. Oh my gosh. The men who took the highest dose showed a marked suppression of testosterone levels, as well as levels of two hormones needed to produce sperm. Okay, you guys are going to be as stupid as women. You're going to actually sterilize yourselves. Is that what you're going to do? You're now talking about literally attacking manhood and masculinity. This movement has been going after men for decades, trying to make men unimportant and basically shred the family, telling little boys ought to act like girls, and that men should really be more sensitive and in touch with their feelings and more in love with all of that stuff. And now we've got a pill that's going to basically shut down the testosterone. We'll just have a bunch of chubby guys who's walking around like eunuchs. This is not going to be sexy. This is not good. But I guess they're going to be smart men who's not going to be taking any, and they're going to be the virile men who have the charisma and the kavorka, and all of us women are going to be looking at that guy going, "Wow, he's got something sexy about him," and he's going to be the one that's not on the male birth control pill. This is so dumb. You know what? We're only one generation away. Genocide here. If we get enough, I'm just wondering if this is a Chinese plot to make sure that America just doesn't reproduce itself. That's the fastest American domination, is you just keep selling birth control and abortion to women and men in America, and pretty soon we won't even have a generation of Americans. And then, of course, we're going to ship them off to the propaganda concentration camps known as public education, and we'll inform and teach them so they learn to be responsible and give up guns and take all of their birth control pills. This is just nuts. This is the dumbest idea. But
it's a male genocide.
It is a male genocide. And go ahead, guys. Gain weight, get lower levels of testosterone, knock yourself out. You're not gonna need Viagra if you take this pill, because you're not gonna have an invitation to use it. My goodness, serious.
Oh
serious.
Man, it's absolutely insane. But with that, while you're taking the male birth control or taking the male pill, I mean, we got to come up with a name for it.
We got to think about the names for that, because the pills are taken.
And Susan, this is off the cuff right now, but I wonder, will Planned Parenthood have some fancy hashtag activism for the male pill?
Oh yeah, they got to push that, but they see, how are you going to sell? You got to sell it to men through women, so it's going to be responsible, and it's going to be like, the girl has to say, "Have you taken your pill today?" Well, what if he hasn't? What are you going to have to watch him? What do you do? It's not like that coffee where you can rip open the package and you can make sure there. This isn't. You're going to have to trust his word. Women, are you going to believe your man? From your shack up hun from the frat house. Did you take your pill today? No, I sure did.
Look at my chart. Look at my chart. I've taken it 28 days straight.
Oh my gosh, this is the dumbest thing ever. Oh, because the fastest way to make men responsible is to make them financially responsible, and we need to be able to do that. That's all you do. You say, you make a baby, you're going to pay for it the rest of your life. Yeah. The eternity and all of those things. But what we've done is we have eroded the family. We have eroded morality from a religious perspective, and we've eroded it socially so that men don't have to, look at him. He's making all kinds of faces at me. He's flexing muscles at me to make me laugh. You guys can't see what he's doing. I am going to kill him.
Well, so let me set you up for a scenario in a male's life right now.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm on day 28 of taking the male pill. I got Planned Parenthood pushing the hashtag activism. I'm gaining weight. But now with the new tooth-mounted diet tracker, it could help feed our unhealthy relationship with food. I mean, why don't they just make a pill? Forget the male birth control. Why don't they make a pill where I can just eat whatever I want and my waistline isn't expanding like the opposite of my hairline? I mean, come on.
I don't know, but yeah, that's what we need. We all need a pill that prevents absorption of food, right? This is messing with Mother Nature too much. This is just silly. What is the tooth-mounted sensor food tracker? Please explain to me what that is.
Well, have you heard of the Fitbit?
You got a sensor in your tooth? I haven't read this one. Tell me what it is.
Have you heard of the Fitbit?
Pardon me?
Have you heard of the Fitbit or the Apple Watch?
Yeah.
Well, are they not simply invasive enough for you? Is that what it is?
So we're going to have a Fitbit in your mouth. That's what this is.
Exactly, a toothbit.
It's a toothbit. Okay.
Yes, it's a device that is 2 square millimeters in size and sticks to the surface of a tooth. The sensor is simple. When its central layer changes, encounters different chemicals, salt and ethanol. I'm guessing. I will keep my opinion to myself on that one. Its electrical properties shift, transmitting a different spectrum of radio waves. Currently, the patch is set up to wirelessly transmit information about glucose, salt, and alcohol to a mobile device. Its creators think it could be adapted to monitor even more metrics, including a wide range of nutrients, chemicals, and psychological states, according to their press release. So I wonder if the future, like the update, you know how you get your Apple update on your phone is, okay, new update is if you eat too many pieces of chocolate, you get an electric buzz through your mouth with the new Toothbit 2.8.
Oh man! Well, here's the more practical way that they could start using it. First of all, it goes to your little Fitbit and tells you cheated on your diet. Okay, so we all have fat shaming going on from our mouths. Here's the scary thing: is what's going to stop once you have a little tooth sensor, toothbit in your mouth, right? Well, if you're on, you get WIC or welfare payments and stuff from the government, right? What if you're eating, you're not eating the appropriate foods? Can Big Brother monitor what you're eating? Are we going to start mandatorily, like this is for healthcare, right? Because if you weigh too much, you're expensive, you're in poor health. It costs more to keep you healthy. So why don't we just, put, these little Fitbits in every fat person's mouth, right? And we don't have to fat shame them. We can just give them electric shocks. Or we'll just monitor what they're eating, and we'll say, I'm sorry, we can't insure you. because we're the government, we can't insure you because we're going to make these choices for you. And you can't, we know we caught you eating corn and we caught you eating the pretzels and stuff this month. And so guess what? You're not going to be able to come and get, whatever it is your benefit is. I mean, it's
a slippery slope.
Yeah, if a government got hold of it. But I guess for somebody who is really, really interested in, I mean, look, if you don't have willpower in the first place, how does this help you? Really.
It won't.
Right. You have to have the willpower first. So I'm not sure how this would be used unless it's, mandatorily inserted in your mouth. Like a kid. You put it on their races. Put it on their races when they're like 15 or something like that. And that way mom knows what the kid's really eating at school. Now, there's a use for you. I think I like that one.
You know what? And there's some kids, I think, that probably should have this on their tooth. I mean, you've seen some of those kids where their shirt is skin tight on.
Poor babies.
I know. It's so sad. It really is. So what do you got planned for the week, Susan?
For the week, I've actually got a couple of social engagements coming up in about 2 weeks. Of course, we are now in week, and we're going to be celebrating the Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Sunday.
Resurrection Day. Yep.
Yep. The biggest day of the entire Christian year is Easter.
I know. I love this week.
It's very moving emotionally. So from way on, I'm going to be, trying to contemplate just how magnificent God is in that He loves everyone so much that He will die for them. And I just saw, my sister showed me a clip from Miss Saigon, the most recent version of it. There's a new singer and the new lead from it. She was found a nationwide talent search in a high school, and I've forgotten her name, forgive me, but she sang the song there that I would die for you. That's the kind of the culmination of the song. And it brought me to tears. She did it so well because she's singing to her son, and she explains, that she loves her son and he should have all of these different opportunities in life, and she would die for him. And that it captures a mother's love. Mothers love their children and they are ready to die for their children. And even more than that, and something that I can just about grasp, but even beyond that, God loves me so much more than I even love my own children, that He did die for me.
He gave His one and only child, yep.
And He came down in the form of Jesus Christ, and He said, I love you so much that I will die for you, even when I was not worth dying for, when I was full of. So I'll be contemplating that for Wednesday and Good Friday, and the amazing miracle that was actually miracle of the incarnation.
Of the entire history of mankind.
A young Jewish girl said yes. Well, a young Jewish girl said yes to life, and she didn't ask questions. She said, okay, let it be done unto me according to thy word. And she said to life, even though she thought she was going to be shamed and done by her betrothed, who was Joseph, and she said yes. Because of that yes and her trust in God, we have all become saved. So life is a very good thing, and women are very brave who say yes to life.
Yeah, life is so important.
Without it, we would not have had, we would still be in our sins. So I think it's a great week.
It's powerful. My favorite week of the year. It really, truly is. It is. And from Good Friday, we go to a service at 6:30 at night, and it's reflection, it's worship together, praying out loud. I mean, it's incredible. I just love it. Hey, Susan, I will see you next Monday. God bless you. God bless all our listeners. And until then, adios.
God bless America.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.